live video feed, but sound is not the best, so we can be real quiet, and we'll get rolling. Thanks.
Cool.
All right. Is that me then, Mark, or am I good to go?
You're good to go, Brian.
All right. Can everybody see me?
Yep.
All right, great. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for a very successful year as Rocky Mountain Rugby Referee Society, and welcome to the 2018 annual general meeting for our great society. I appreciate all the work everybody's put into this year. I especially want to thank our executive committee and Mark, Doug, Steve, and also Gilligan, and also our former leadership in Derek Summers, Stu Geiger, Mark Huff, who is now back with us today, and those before us. You know, it takes a lot to run a business, especially one that's rugby.
Hold on. Hey, time out. Camera's looking. Hold on, Brian.
Hold on.
So do some tricks or something. For an advertisement, yeah.
Can you speak, Brian?
Yeah,
Oh, better.
Okay, I got you on the PA system now.
excellent, great. Well, put down my Corona. All right, anyway, thank you all for being here. Look, I get it. Yeah, this is a voluntary gig for most of us. You know, how much we can put a lot of priority on rugby, but life will and can get in the way. We're all trying to grow our careers. Some of us are having family, kids. Some of us are moving. Some of us are having more kids. And yet somehow, some way, we find the time to put into this game and invest in our true stakeholders, which equally is each other as it is our consumers, the players, the coaches, the families, the parents, the spectators. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's all worthwhile. You know, we have a unique position because as a society, we need to cater to a beginning high school player and their family all the way to the MLR final. And the referees we have to cater to are brand new referees on their first assignment all the way to senior level referees that are doing international appointments. So we're in a unique position as a society. And in 2018, I truly feel that we've done a tremendous job in supporting this game. For those that don't know my background, I started refereeing in 2004. And over this 15 years, I've been tremendously fortunate to be able to referee in Japan, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, all over Europe, all over the Caribbean, all as a referee in this great sport. But what has been the constant for me in my highs and my successes as a referee, and also in the struggles as a referee, is this society. At the time, IRFU, now Rocky Mountain Rugby Referee Society, it's a constant. No matter what we're going through in life, be it trials and tribulations and family struggles, or great success and getting to, you know, conquer the world in our careers, our referee society is a constant. And we're not just here for the teams, we're here for each other. I recognize that. Over the past few years, we have done a tremendous job. In 2018 especially, we've done greater lengths in our recruitment and retention than ever before. You know, of our 50 or so active members, we have recruited 52 new referees this year. And that's something Steve Gore will talk about a little bit later. But last year, when Derek Summers talked about our goals into covering the growth of this game, we've done a tremendous job at achieving that. I think a great deal of that is putting a full-time position in charge of recruitment and retention. But it's not just growing the game, it's also in the deliverables that are expected on us. The pressure on us to deliver more games year after year is real, and we're meeting that demand. But also it's in the level of skill is also rising, and so too is our expectation as a referee society. The level that we need to keep this game safe is becoming more and more apparent, and we need to be accountable for that, and I think we're meeting that as a society. So I'm very, very proud of that, but I also think there's lots of work to do, and that's exciting because that work means more opportunity as a society. A big piece of this whole consistency is key. This year we've had a lot of turnover. Despite our growth and our success, we changed from our former leadership and Tom Coburn and Stu and Mark Huff and a lot of others that we had. Derek Summers took over. Well, he took a new job with Rugby Texas. Super, super happy about that for Derek. It leaves a vacancy for us, which I was happy to where I could. Mark Huff has career opportunities come up. Great piece of leadership that we now have a void to fill. Luckily, Doug Robinson was able to pick up with that. Stu Geiger has a great opportunity to move with his family and support his wife on the East Coast. That's another vacancy that we need to fill. And here, where I talk about our rock and our consistency as a society, I recognize that this year has been a year of transition. And that's something we address as an executive committee, and that's something that we tolerate as a society. But I want you to know that it's also one of the reasons that we're electing our positions the way we are. We're fortunate enough to have Mark Huff come back, be able to dedicate more time for us. We're going to keep Doug Robinson on, and he will continue to build consistency, training with Steve and Gilligan and Mark Nelson to make sure that should life get in the way, should Steve go inside Younger Mongolia next year, should Mark Nelson get busy, we're not left with the same void that we were this year. And that's something that we're also looking forward to. Again, tremendous year 2018 has been. Despite the transitions that we've had to endure, I'm looking forward to the next year and things to come for our referee society. So thank you all very much. Cheers.
They all have work things. Okay, so with that, we have thanks for coming to our AGM, guys. Welcome. As Brian said, it's important for you guys all to be here. I think with the proxy counts and the people online, we have a quorum because we needed 24, so we can proceed. And a big thank you for, again, volunteering your time and taking away from your family, your work, other commitments, other rugby commitments to kind of give back and referee. It's something we all love to do, obviously, because we've been doing it for hundreds of years. We're going to run through the agenda. Should be a pretty smooth agenda. Brian gave the state of the society, right? I'll have a couple of videos from our Southern American recruitment officer who's doing his best to recruit new Colombian referees and bring them up here. Or start an import-export business, whichever works.
You're close. You're on the board.
Yeah, if anyone's been watching Narcos, we could help them out. I'll give you a quick referee development, stuff we've worked on, stuff we're looking forward to. And then our operation officer, Dan Hattrip, is on a plane right now from Hawaii, and he'll give you a kind of an update. And then we have a couple presentations from Rugby Colorado and Rocky Mountain Rugby, potentially. Not yet, as of yet. Then Mark Huff will go through the procedures for the elections. We have a couple proposals to vote on. a couple committee elections to have, and then appointment of non-elected officials. We'll go through some social winner options, some awards, promotions, and then if time bearing, an open discussion, but we can also adjourn that to the bar. Does anyone have any questions or anything? So with that, Esteban.
Hola, amigos. Thanks everyone for showing up to the AGM. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be there in person with you. I want to take a few minutes and just look back at 2018. For most of us, we referee to stay part of a game that we love or to give back to that game. So let's take a few minutes and celebrate our contributions.
So this last year,
At the numbers,
oh,
we referee close to
forgot there's a video.
matches and over 75 tournaments in 2018. That's well over 50,000 minutes of rugby for the more than 3,000 players that are registered in the state of Colorado. That's a huge impact that we're having collectively, and it wouldn't happen without each and every one of us. So let's just take a second and give ourselves a round of applause for all of our efforts and our contribution. Next, I'd like to recognize all of our new officials in 2018. We have 40 people that accepted their first assignment for Rocky Mountain this year, which is a tremendous number. We need to keep growing and keep building the society. So to all of the new members, welcome. Thanks for taking that first step to become a referee with us. Next, I'd like to recognize our contributions to high-level rugby. 2018, we had officials taking part in 3 competitions in Colorado, in the U.S., and even internationally. Huge congratulations to everyone who was able to take part in these events and matches. Next, I'd like to say a big thank you to the officials that aren't brand new, or maybe also aren't participating in those high-level competitions. You're the referees that are making rugby happen in Colorado week in and week out, and we don't do enough to recognize you. We know that it can be challenging and frustrating at times, so I just want to say a big thank you to all of our community referees here at Rocky Mountain.
All right, thank you guys.
He's gurgling now.
Towards 2019, I think we'll continue with 3 introductory courses that we did in 2018. These are a great opportunity if anyone's interested in coming out and helping with the course, but also showing the training that we have here within Rocky Mountain. Secondly, my ask to everyone is continue to recruit and talk about your positive experiences you've had when refereeing. If you find someone who's interested, they can fill out a form on our website, or you can just email me their contact information and I'll reach out to them. Lastly, retention for next year is an area I'd like to spend some more time on. And if there's anyone who is helping or has ideas there, please reach out to me and let's discuss. That's it for me. Thanks everyone for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the AGM. Cheers.
Thank you, Stefan. So now we'll just do a quick rundown of my time with the RDOs, which is only a little bit of time. Since I've kind of taken over in the 3 months, we've had 61 coaching reports. We had 5 advantage reports. I know a lot of you didn't know we had that software, but we're going to increase that going forward. Brian had some stuff. He had some focus groups. He had 4 spring season monthly calls, and he had 2 calls. So he had 4 monthly high performance calls and 2 community calls, and that's something I'm going to look forward to continuing and setting up. I was able to somewhat successfully load 20 matches on YouTube, some using the solo shot, some using technology from just going to someone's game and seeing someone video it and grabbing that and loading on my computer and ripping it to it. And that YouTube channel is what, Christoph? RMRR TV. Just go to YouTube and then type in the search bar RMRR TV. And it'll bring up our webpage. I'm also going to try and get some more interactive learning on there. And that's a big good resource. Any rollouts we get from World Rugby or any videos we get from World Rugby, I'd like to throw up there as well and just share with that. And again, you're all welcome to, post stuff to there, or if you have something you want to have me post on there, just let me know. Okay. And going forward, I think for our meetings, I want to get out of this room a little bit more and get moving around. Hopefully maybe we could talk with one of the teams if they're training on a Monday and get out and do a scrum session or a line-out session or some breakdown practice, or just kind of get out and sitting here is not much fun. But just get out there and visualize stuff and do stuff and learn and practice. Some of the education pieces I want to kind of bring and we can talk about. In February, we're probably going to have another level 1. Those are primarily taught by either myself, Kurt Weaver, or Karen, because we're the only educators. I think Jen Gray is still an educator, but usually it's us 3 that do that. But it is nice to have people come. Oh, and Joe Zevin, sorry. And Joe Zevin and Mike Bloy is an educator as well. So those are fun to come out and just even be a part of it and just kind of talk to them and kind of tell them about your experiences and help us just kind of run the cones and give them feedback, right? In April, I would love to run a level 200 referee course. I think we have a bunch of referees here who are developing. That's more of like a 2-day intensive goal session planning. Let's really talk about these levels of foul play, of advantage, and get into some more deliberate practice and like really break down your game and really for like a next level refereeing. In May, love to run an intro to sevens and get some people just kind of starting out refereeing in sevens. And I'd like to get a coaching of match officials for those who haven't taken it. I know a lot of you have taken it, but some of those that haven't, I'd like to kind of get everyone certified. It's just nice to get everyone certified so that if we do ever sort out like all of our games are at one location and we have senior refs and junior refs, that everyone can coach everyone, right? And it's not just you have to be a specific coach to that. The senior refs can give feedback to the junior refs, and the junior refs can give feedback to the new refs, and it's just everyone's certified. And in August, we'll have another level 1, and then in September, this is tentative, but I really love to do an intensive coaching and match officials at this little event we run up in the mountains in September. So that's kind of my plan. What's that? It's a 2-day thing, and then you need some like practice coaching, and I think that kind of aligns with a certain event we do. But we'll try and figure that out. Some things I want to kind of look at in 2019 is barring the election we have for the thing today, but I would like a newer focused coaching reports so that kind of all the referees are getting the same information from all of our coaches. If this initiative does pass, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but like a level 8 referee should primarily be focused on these 4 or 5 things, right? And as the coaches, we should really only be giving them feedback on that And once they advance past that, then we can give them on the next things. So I know it's not just kind of coaching from all over the place. Hey, your advantage looked good today, but your foul play didn't look good, and your tackle looked good, and your scrum was okay. And it's just kind of like more focus of what you're working on. Sorry about that. And that's also dependent on the referee too. You got to give us goals. You got to give the coaches goals so we can track something. Because if you don't give us goals, we're just going to give you a general feedback. And again, it'll be more transparent once you kind of see the presentation. Kind of want to get some interactive development plans for all the referees, and that'll tie into with the level 2 if you guys take it, of kind of season-long goals, kind of smaller goals, what you want to do, what you want out of your career, what's reasonable, just kind of more interactive stuff. We'd like to hopefully get some more money and get some more professional video, because the solo shot is okay, but it fails about 40% of the time. We're going to go back to the scheduled calls and webinars for clips for not only developing referees, but for high performance referees. Yeah, and those calls as well. And then with that, any questions on the RDO part? All right, so now we'll run down our little operations officer.
Hey everybody, I want to say thank you for coming to the AGM today. Apologies for not being able to make it there. My shoulder again, probably by I'm very far away from Colorado right now. So just great to have to get on the 11:30 red ice tonight. Actually, I haven't gotten to have any fun here today, so it's going to be a quick trip back. Anyway, again, thank you for coming. And on the next few slides, you're going to see quite a bit about what we've done over the last year. At 21% growth in the number of games, which is great because that's that many more opportunities for folks to get in the middle. But the thing that I really enjoy is seeing that we've had 53% growth, if I remember that number right, not looking at the slides, in assistant referee. And that's a huge contribution to the game. Rather than having to pull somebody out of the club, we're really giving a better product to the customers, to our clients, to those clubs. To Rugby Colorado, to Glendale, to Rocky Mountain Rugby, D1A, USA Rugby. Only coming out of Rocky Mountain Rugby, and then Rugby. Only a little over half. All the rest of that is tested.
Right on here.
Moving along with financials, and take a look. Turn to profit this year versus last year, we lost $5,000. But to be able to do that, we had to cut a lot of things. We had to cut almost all the scholarships, almost all the travel except for our annual exchange to the UK. And quite frankly, that's something that I really want to bring back. It's something we've talked about as the executive committee, because it is a great way to take a look at and reward the folks that are doing the hard work locally. Maybe don't have national aspirations, but definitely want to go ahead and be a great solid contributor at the C1, B3 level. Not to steal the thunder, obviously, we'll be talking about changing the leveling names later as well. That's something I'm sure Mark and everybody else will be able to talk about too. But take a look at those numbers. When we're having that consideration, we're talking about what should our fees be, where should we be raising them. Keep that in mind that what we'll be doing is funding a lot of the things that really make the game a lot of fun for the local referee, a lot of fun for just the folks that are here at Rocky Mountain Rugby. So take care and aloha.
Here are some of those numbers. Last year, I think we had 601 assignments, and this we had 728, which is 20% growth, which is great. And then the big number, which has been a massive increase, 53% growth on our assistant referees. That's well done. Here's something you can't all see. I think the main point of this is that only 50% of our appointments came from either Rocky Mountain or Rugby, Colorado. So there's a lot of appointments from Rugby Town, from USA Rugby, from kind of all over. And only half our appointment from Enscrow, Major League Rugby, stuff like that. So that's just kind of a breakdown of where all of our appointments went to. This will all be sent out as well. So if you want to break out your glasses or your goggles or your telescope to see all these. But graphs are colorful and they're fun. We did make a $3K profit this year, and that's by cutting a lot of the exchanges. We did keep the UK exchange open. We got rid of $3,000 in scholarships and only awarded $500. And then we did get $1,500 in donations. Then we had $1,000 more revenue than last year, and 2019 budget is $8K for the exchanges and scholarships, and we need $5K for top line growth. Again, another small graph. This is our revenue source. 33 came from Rocky Mountain, 21 from Rugby, Colorado, and 18 from Rugby Town. And then Denver Sevens, Enscrow, WPL, playoffs, 9%, USA Rugby, 1%, Ruggerfest, 22%, Glendale is probably a big chunk of that. I can't see that. No, 18%. So it's kind of where our revenue is coming in from. And with that, Angus. Sorry, Joe.
This kind of goes towards growth. I know we're talking all happy stuff here, but how many games went?
I don't have that.
You see what I'm saying? It's talking towards growth.
Yeah.
How many more referees do we need?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information.
I'll take a note, follow up.
Yeah.
Mark, could you repeat the question?
How many games went uncovered?
I think this year we had 100% coverage.
Wow.
Yeah.
And thank you, Stephen Marino in Grand Junction and Josh Pendergrass, if you're on. That really helped us out.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, more than once, people were spread thin, going from, one match to another, covering multiple assignments in a day. So good job to everybody involved on that. Well done.
Good stuff. Angus, the floor is yours. If you want to come, you could stand here and we'll get that on the camera.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and thanks for your time. Just for those of you who don't know, that's me up there, Angus. Yep, and you can see I've got legs. Thank you very much. So they'll just be me too. So I'm the executive director of Rugby Colorado. All I'm going to do now is just give a little précis of. I've been in this seat for 3 years now. So just a refresh on where we've come from over the last 3 years and some of where we're going. But it's great to see some familiar faces here in the room, and really well done on that recruitment. That's a fantastic slide to see because I didn't see that last year. It's great to see new faces out there running around on the paddock. So I think this is the third time I've been up here, Mark. Don't know. Yeah. So in my first year, I stood up here and spoke about culture, and part of that was, changing the culture at youth level and making sure referees, and not just referees, but also anyone who's a stakeholder in rugby is comfortable in a rugby environment. That's ongoing. And I'd like to say it's a significant improvement because I think in 2016, 17, and 17, 18, me and Jim Bruce had a bit of a broken windows policy. Came down very, very hard on people who stepped out of line. And I think we kicked 2 or 3 coaches out of the game. But part of that is when you get into safe sport and we can see what's coming around the corner, it's not just men out there, it's women out there, mums, kids, whatever. And we wanted to make sure that rugby wasn't like other sports. I don't know how many of you read the news, but it seems a nationwide issue that a $17 billion industry is losing its umpires and referees. That's youth sports because of abuse. And so we've been on that, and we're consistently on that. And it's quite nice going into next year, boys season. And for those who don't know, I met with Mark and Gilligan and Zach is November, October. We just sat around the table, had a bit of late lunch and talked about the future. And we want to keep building on that. But this half year, the girls' season, 0 disciplinary incidents. Like, we didn't have to bring in the disciplinary committee once. A year on year, just to let you know what that means, I asked Jim and his team of very expensive pro bono lawyers to just do a cost-benefit analysis. And they were saying if we were being charged, that had been about 50 grand a year of legal services at C-suite executive level. And the girls, that's 10% of our playing population, had 50% of the cost applied to their half season. That's nuts. So we can see that the shifting culture's there. And thank you all for being part of that. And, our list of bad boys where we would normally send a team of 3 or 4 to a game is actually, we've been able to say to Mark and Gilligan and those guys that we can, it's 2019, assume there's none going into the season. So it's really nice to be up here to be able to say that. 17, 18, a lot of streamlining our operations, which is mainly me, Carol and Lisa. Those of you who knew Lisa, she left us at the beginning of this year. That was really hard, just being more efficient and getting more information out to the community, to you folks, trying to align our systems with the RMRR and USA Rugby's multifarious systems of operation across everything. It's just it's a nightmare. We're into our 2nd or 3rd generation of web provider, which is an ongoing nightmare. It never seems to get better. But we've tried to be really, really efficient on information we get out, when we get it out, collaborating with our partners like yourselves. And we're going into the end of this year. And apart from the boys' 15s, which is always an anomaly of planning, I think we've got all the next year's gigs already in your system, uploaded. So you know what's coming around the corner. And that's definitely a first in my short life here. And that did culminate in Darby at the back there. So we lost Lisa, but Darby came in. Don't be shy, she's blushing. In our family liaison communications officer. So with Safe Sport, when Lisa left at the beginning of this year, we decided we didn't need a 3rd head of department for an organisation that's so small. What do we need? So we needed someone who's a parent and who's good at interfacing with the community, happy to stand front of house and deal with some of our more complex customers. And she's embodied in Darby. Darby, actually off the top of your head, how much messaging have you put out in the last 7 to 8 months? Yeah, 30,000 people a week. And you'll be surprised how many of the boys' high school 15s coaches say, I can't find any information. No one tells me anything anymore. Right? But there we are. And a single message that we put out, maybe for a sponsor or on a league message, and the same message going out 6 to 7 times in a week will get up to 30,000 contacts. So on the communication side, we've really upped our game there. And take time to speak to Darby. She is a nice person. And she's done a phenomenal job around that because, half the time we felt we were speaking a foreign language, which I feel like every day of the week. Thank you very much. We did, as part of PR, ongoing PR, part of our meeting was we sat and we've launched a Love the Referee initiative. And it's important, don't laugh, thank you. And the idea being, because we know there's a recruitment and development piece going on, but we've basically said to all our high school boys teams, right, you have to, as part of the scheduling, come back with a date that you're going to host a referee. And we would ask you, without, I don't want to insult anyone, but put your most PR-friendly referees out there. and the idea being that you get out there and they book a date, you go out there, you go and watch how they coach, and maybe if they've got laws questions, spend a bit of time. But the caveat is they have to take you out for a couple of beers or dinner or something like that. And that's your opportunity to continue recruitment. So the idea is let's just get some referee hooks into our youth rugby community and talk about the next generation of touchies, ARs and whatever. As with every initiative we do, first 6 months generally get complete silence till people wake up to the next 6 months and go, oh, whatever happened with that? And we just go, it's still going, and we just hook them in. But we will be continue pushing that. And I think it was Gilligan set up a code on your Who's the Ref website, called Love the Referee. So as they come in, we'll just put them straight in there and go out and have fun. Because a lot of our coaches could benefit from learning the laws of rugby. And if you could do me a favour and get at least amongst 30% of our coaches and teach maybe half of them what the meaning of materiality is, there might be a lot of emotional issues disappear over a very short period of time. So our season now looks pretty much, for me and Carol, non-stop. Right? We wake up on January 1 and go to bed on December the 31st. It never stops moving. Even though there's seasons, it's just, there's always something that needs attending to. So, and Derby now has been hooked into the opium that is rugby. And for her as well, she's been casual part-time, but we're looking to bring on to a more permanent or semi-permanent role going into 2019. But please understand, it never stops. Like never. This year alone, after Lisa left, there was times from February through to June, July that Carol and I, 7-day weeks, 60 hours a week easily. Drops off in the girls' season. But whilst the on-field stuff drops off, that's our window of opportunity to catch up on a lot of the off-field stuff, financial reconciliations, any compliance issues that need changing, things like that. So it's exciting to have a full year. So as many of you know, we've got a very good high school boys 15s, roughly 200 games across February through to May. I've had a chat with some of my foreign friends overseas and said, how does that compare with some of your countries in terms of a high school boys league? And they say it's comparative in terms of volume, not necessarily on quality of play, but on volume, definitely. That's immediately followed by the High School Boys 7 series, 6 rounds plus a stadium final. Then we have Nike Camp in July. And then we go into the fall, we have High School Girls 7 series, which is, again, 6 rounds for the stadium finish. World Rugby have seen our boys and girls 7s. And those formats, it's actually up at top table with World Rugby through one of my colleagues as a very good example of gender inclusion and parity between girls and boys in high school rugby. So, and they've actually asked if they can replicate that through some of their Asian countries, so you may have not heard this, but I feel quite smug about it, which is why I'm telling you right now. But Rugby Colorado has an example of gender inclusion and gender parity in rugby that's being used, not just there, but around this country. So you're part of that, so be proud of it too. Thank you. We love you all without exception, as I tell you every year. Even our shouty coaches, when they get in a quiet moment and speak to their spouses. But every year we do give an award to one of the foot soldiers who mark. Yeah. I was planning on leaving at some point.
You can do it now.
Well, I don't actually have the award with me,
Okay, well,
but I just wanted to name the
go
name.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I can wait to the end. I don't mind.
No, it's good.
All right.
You can do it now.
So we did have a short list of a bunch of you, and this generally goes to foot soldiers. To Mark's point, that there's a lot of people out there who are not necessarily doing panel referee, international referee, that are just out there rolling their sleeves up and being part of the system continually. So our moment of recognition this year goes to Don Dowling,
Hey.
who's our referee of the year. Well, whilst there was a cigarette paper width of choice between him and everyone else, it's only because he told or he claimed that he lost 40 pounds, which is an advertising for being a referee alone. Just to close out, and everyone knows about, I think, about safe sport and safety. We're pushing really hard on that. And when I was at the SRO conference, it would seem that Rugby Colorado is already ahead of where everyone else is in terms of safe sport requirements for coaches. The community is struggling a little bit to wrap their head around it and why it's important and why it's not just a pain in the backside in terms of admin. But, you know, some of our growth areas are little kids and girls. And those are the two obvious growth areas. So we have to be strong on it, and we want to be strong on it. And we're going to keep pushing that, not just as part of our cultural message, but as our ongoing strategy. Let's be better than other sports. You know, I'm very keen that rugby stands on its own 2 feet. And instead of saying, oh, but that's football, that's whatever, we go, no, we're rugby. We're going to carve our own niche in this marketplace and stand up. And that's going to be some of the drivers. And there's a few people I've spoken to in other sports, in and out of the schools environment, who's saying, yeah, we're well behind the curve. And as I understand it, that's going to be a federal requirement. Safe sport training is going to be federally mandated next year. So we will be keeping a directory and database of all the coaches and administrators in the system and making sure they're up to date on the safe sport. What's sort of nice for me, instead of being this like miserable old git from overseas who keeps banging on about it, there's now a federal mandate coming in, says this is the law. So we can be Judge Dredd now moving forward, which is very exciting. And say, well, it wasn't me, it was them up there that said it's got to go that way. But that's but where I think my last message to you folks is, we love being part of the system. You know, we are a client of the RMRR, but we also see ourselves as collaborating partners. And I think that's how we continue to grow this game. And the only thing I ask you in continuous PR is education, education, education. You know, don't be shy, get out there, speak to our community, tell them how to play rugby, be who you are and why it's the best sport in the world, right? There's no other sport that exists on my radar. This is it, apart from the game of tennis now and again. But that's it. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for your efforts, and looking forward to 2019. Yep.
Doesn't look like we have a representative from Rocky Mountain Rugby here, so he's one of us. So now to the fun bit of the evening. Mark Huff and Doug will kind of go over our procedures for elections.
Thanks, Mark. So I got a call this week and said, hey, would you help out with elections? Because I'm kind of unbiased. I was involved with the resolution about the election. And so they couldn't get anyone else to do it. So I will have you know, Doug's going to help out. Doug and I have been studying up on how to do this and been watching how they do it in Broward and West Palm Beach, Florida. So we are duly trained up.
You have to resign that.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. So, a couple notes. We've got a quorum between who's here, who we have proxies for, and who has joined us over the internet. 2 votes. Our bylaws say that you have to be in good standing and that you have to be a member of USA Rugby. So if you are not an active member in USA Rugby, you cannot vote. Now, you do not have to register with Rocky Mountain Rugby referees in USA Rugby. You just have to be a member in good standing with USA Rugby. So, Kurt, since I know you registered to USA Rugby, you are eligible. Ed, as well. I know you registered.
Chris as well.
So you just have to be registered at USA. The other thing is that you have to be a participant. And executive committee in a call this week determined that participating in someone who has done something for the society. So if you've done something for the society, you refed, you AR, you coached, you evaluated, came to a meeting, you have done something for the society, so you're eligible. So if you are not eligible to vote, it's kind of it's on your honor. If you're not eligible to vote, then we ask that you vote. Okay? So we're voting on 2 resolutions and then 3 positions. The 2 resolutions will be different this year. We're not taking resolutions from the floor of the executive committee, which I'm not a member. Decided we do the resolutions in advance, we prepare materials, have the discussion, vote. So we're not taking any proposals from the floor. Also, on the elections, we asked that everyone pre-nominate individuals for the elections. And so we're not taking nominations for the floor. We have 3 positions we're electing. One's president, one's director of operations, and one is retention or recruitment and retention. We only have 1 candidate for president and 1 candidate for director of operations. If you guys don't mind, I think we just take a voice vote on those 2 when those come up. Yes or no, and that'll probably be fine. In the case of the 3rd position, recruitment and retention, Steve Moore, who was on the video earlier, has put himself up for re-election. Ed Todd has offered to he's put himself up for that position as well.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
I was wondering when the proper time to do this was, but I'm withdrawing my name from.
Okay, this would be a really good time. Okay, so we have 3 uncontested elections. So we'll just do them all one after the other. We'll start with the resolution because that's how we're set up. Yep. So with that, we do have some proxy votes. So you want to tell us who's voting proxy for who?
Yeah, so Mark Nelson has 3 proxy votes for Karen, Gary, and Emily. Mark Huff has 2 proxy votes for Gilligan and Zap. Joe has 2 proxy votes for Brighton and Bill Cassidy. Pat has a proxy vote for Brian Kelly. I have 3 proxy votes for Zenobia, Steve Marino, and Steve Bohr. And Rick has 1 proxy vote for Betty.
So for the proxies, in some cases, like in the people I'm proxying for, they told me how they want it. So I've already informed Doug, he's written it down on the form, so I don't have to vote those proxies. I've already done it. So if you know who, or you've been instructed on the 2 resolutions, how to vote on the resolutions, please let us know. If you don't know, you maybe you've been told that you have and you have full proxy, you can vote whichever way you want for your proxy voters. You want to wait after the presentation, that's too. What we'll do is just actually come up with okay, so that way everyone just gets one. We will vote by ballot, okay, in case there's any controversy or close vote. We'll just get a piece of paper to pass out. You have pens for those who don't have pens. Is that covering? So with that, we have 2 proposals. So Mark, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try and.
Any questions on the process, guys? Okay. If we do have a tie, we'll recount the votes. Maybe we'll ask Jim to come up.
For all those online, and if you want to stay on YO Charlie, BK, you can type in the chat your vote on this, and I'll get it on the computer. Okay. So the first proposal as a discussion of the benefits and drawbacks of if we reinstate dues to the referees, and maybe talk about increasing those dues or setting a standard of those dues, so we can do some of the stuff that we weren't able to do last year for the local referees. Some of that funding will be improvements to meetings and content, maybe hiring, some sports psychologists, a fitness guy, someone to kind of come in and talk a little bit more about higher level refereeing or development stuff. Kind of paying someone to kind of help out with match and tournament coordination. So make sure that, we're getting the right people there, the information out. We can kind of develop maybe a web portal for coaching reports and improve on frequency, maybe paying coaches more.
Not to put on this, is there an amount per person?
No, it's just so.
In general.
Yeah, I think what it is to have an open discussion and maybe probably assign a committee to it and figure out a general thing. Another thing, I know other LROs do this, and we have our kit program we use that not everyone is aware of, but from what I understand doesn't get used all that often. So maybe, if you just show up and you're a new referee, we just give you kit and you just look the part. You don't have to earn it by going 5 games and going through it and buying stuff, and then the store's not being in stock and Emily having a box of kit, but she's not here tonight or whatever. It's just kind of a bit of a hassle. So it'd be nice just kind of hand hey, congratulations, Jim Bramley. Welcome taking your level 1 or whatever, or doing your first AR. Here's your lunchbox of kit, stuff like that. Opening up exchanges, doing more continuing education stuff, going to camps if they're still around. I know, and then also just using some of that budget to market referees and getting additional stuff for recruitment and retention. Little chairs with "come referee" on them, or a tent that says "come referee," or just kind of growing the numbers. And I think that if we did kind of have this discussion and put a figure on this, it would kind of have everyone have a little more skin in the game and you're a proud member of this. So does anyone have any questions on this?
Do we have a little tent that we have at Infinity Park or something? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, even the staff, there's even the staff a table and have someone sit there and talk to people, and to pay someone to do that would be a good marketing tool, right? And I want to ask you guys, hey, take the time and spend 8 hours in a chair in the sun trying to recruit referees. But, if there's something we could, hire someone like Angus has and get information out there and stuff, because, that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm going to go Chris and then you, Jim.
So if I remember correctly, part of the reason we took this away is we were looking at new referees and the cost for them to take the level 1 and the dues on top of that, as well as our dues. So something I would just caution against is looking at how that changes the price levels for those new referees again and increase that.
For sure. So new referees in the room, what were your thoughts on it? So if we charged you $250 to join the society, I'm not saying that's a number, but then we give you your jerseys, your tracksuit, everything you wanted, ready to go. Would that be something you'd be willing to look at, or something that you'd be it's a bit financial burden for me. I can't really do it right now. I mean, we have a lot of new referees here. Speak up. What are your thoughts? Art?
250 seems like
Yeah, I'm not saying that's the number. I just pulled that out at random.
And then, if it's for the whole season, or if you do one due for spring, one due for fall, it's sometimes in the fall I'm wrong the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. Randy?
I think if we're thinking about already approaching people that are maybe not thinking about refereeing already, and then telling them they do, just saying in my personality, I would teach you about.
Jim, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what we're doing tonight. Am I correct that we're having a discussion? What do you think? we ought to go forward with it. There's a committee going to be appointed to make a specific proposal at a later time, and then that'll be voted on, right? That what we're doing?
Voting on this,
Well,
but there's no.
but there's no number. There's no body number. I mean, are you saying, are we voting a blank check to the executive committee to say, go ahead and impose these fees? Or are they going to come back to us and say, we suggest this, let's vote again? If we're going to do that, why do we vote now?
Steve, can you unmute yourself and give a little feedback on that?
Yeah, Jim, I think it's a fair question. The idea behind this was to get a feeling from the organization of what people thought about this. Do people see value in what Rocky Mountain provides today or could provide in the future that they'd be willing to pay for? I don't, there's not a specific number tied to this. So I think if everyone votes yes, that's not saying that we will definitely put in fees. And if this gets voted no, that's also not saying that we won't put in fees.
What are we doing?
I think this is a way to gather information from people and see how what the feeling is.
I think if we put it to a vote and everyone and 90% of the people said no, then the executive committee would probably take a hard look at it and reevaluate it. Whereas 80% of people said, yeah, I'd pay X amount of dollars, then maybe we'd be more inclined to look at it. Does that make sense?
It's more of a poll, Mark, than it is.
Yeah. Jim?
Well, personally, I'm in favor of it. But I also understand that I'm not going to vote specifically and see what that number is. If it's 250 at the beginning of the season, that's very different from 25.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would be, I think if we had some sort of a system, the exec committee or treasurer or somebody could say, well, we can make exceptions if somebody can afford it. He's only going to be here half a year. I personally would be more than happy to sponsor somebody who couldn't afford it. But I think we need specifics before you really get involved. That's right. So I don't think we need to vote.
Mike and then Alex.
I think building on that, Jim, the comment that others have made about new members, it may be, I suppose, that the executive consider seriously new members have an 18-month, 2-year free period.
Yeah.
I think that would encourage new members to come in by that time. They would know whether they truly want to continue to referee or not.
And we would
hit them right up front to say, here's your kit, and by the way, here's your bill. Oh, I think it's exactly the wrong way to do it.
Okay, Alex?
Yeah, I think my by the way, I support it. My caution in the executive committee would be that it seems like something where the duties administration could get into a lot of complexity. Not paying dues or having this, what do you do with new referees? There's a lot of nuances, and then of course how you do it doesn't necessarily agree with that. So the executive committee is not sounding like a group of people who have extraordinary amounts of free time in their hands to administer a new system. So I would just caution that it might be more trouble than whatever X amount of money would do it.
Okay. Okay. I think Joe was first because he's sitting closer, and then.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not a real fan of just giving kid away. For the same reason that I like the idea of referees who've been around a while. I agree with Mike, give the new referees a break on the dues. But for the same reason that the referees who've been around a while should pay dues, earning the kit means that individual has some skin in the game. And that, now that they have an investment in it, I think that'll help our retention. They have to invest some of their time in learning how to referee before they get their full kit. Hey, I'm actually getting better at this, and it's fun. I spent my entire life around people who've been given everything, and throwing money at the problem hasn't solved it in 80 years. Why should we do it?
Okay.
Well, I came in from a different society, and at first it was very difficult to get hold of kids. Tough to get on the numbers. Still now, I don't have flags. I know there's flags online now, so I can buy flags and hold them together. So, giving maybe just revamping where we get kids, like having a person where we can order to.
Yep.
Send you an email. This is what I want. Which which shops have it. This is what's going to cost you. This is it. You want to add your kid, that's fine. Just talking about getting people in the game to begin with. Yeah, slapping them up front with a lot of money is hard. For me, it's not a problem. I love the game so much. I'll pay $500 just to be part of it. But here's the deal. There are some referees that are young, wants to get in the game. And I think maybe we can go like, hey, we'll give you half of every game until you work off your kit, until you have your dues,
Yeah.
and then you get full
I think-
days and traveling, or pay them the traveling, not the game fee, but that's something that can
Yeah.
be decided.
I think logistically and there is like, I think there is, yeah, that's a great point. And that would be, a logistic nightmare for Dan, but that's his problem.
But at least those guys get something back while they work
Yeah,
in the way
sure.
they do, and they're great.
And again, like I created that kit program ages ago, so maybe we took a hard look at that. I know Emily and I are kind of been tasked with looking at it, and I am talking with World Rugby Shop and Rugby Athletic and other providers, and kind of seeing where we are and what's the best way to go forward. So I'm happy for any and all advice with that as well. And again, like if you guys want to help out with these things and see that there's opportunities for them, please like put your hand up and say, Mark, I'd be happy to take that on, right? Because we are a community. It's not just an executive team telling you it is. We're here to serve you. So,
Any more comment?
Chris?
I changed my mind, but I have a question. I'm a little naive. I haven't been paying attention. Do we currently pay you?
No.
That's only been the last 2-3 years.
It's been a while. Yeah, but I think we just took it off your match fee.
Right. So I come from a society in Colorado, Rocky Mountain, that our dues were part of our reimbursement. And once we hit that gap, once we hit that mark, then along came the benefits. So it was incentive for us
To get stuff done.
East Center, whatever it was. And then from there, now I've reached my dues, or pay your dues at it. It was automatically deducted out of our reimbursements. The reimbursements were very different than here. So it was long, it was quarter.
Oh, you get paid
It's
every.
very different. So
I think we switched to monthly.
So,
But it is tough
I
to.
just wanted to throw that out there. I'm for it.
Okay.
If it's $500, I'm out. He can pay mine.
It's $250. He can pay you twice.
I mean,
Okay.
Chris, do you have any more questions? I move that the executive committee study this and come back with a proposal no later than the March meeting. Or why don't another option is just making a informational vote. Would you be interested? Would you then have them come back and decide and make a presentation?
Sure.
Are you okay? Is the executive committee okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Anyone online? Everyone hear that?
Yes.
Zap?
So an informational vote
Sure.
only. Would you be interested in the society coming back, making a report?
Non-binding.
Non-binding.
Non-binding resolution.
Okay, let's do a hand. It's informational. We'll do a hand vote. So all those in favor of having the society or the executive committee come back and report back to the membership about options on the dues paying program.
let's put a deadline on this, please.
March.
March, so all in favor? Opposed? It was unanimous for those here that are at the meeting.
Yeah.
And you got the.
It was unanimous.
You got the proxies.
Okay.
So that is passed. Okay, so second proposal.
So the second proposal is for us to move away from the ABC grading method of refereeing to kind of coincide with basically a match level system of what I've determined kind of what is encompassed of like all of the levels of refereeing. And the kind of the reason why we want to do this is this will be effective January 1, and we're getting rid of the old alphabet system. And we're going to go to kind of a match level. And the reason I kind of want to do this is because we really don't know like what it takes to become a C1 or a C2 or a B3. It's an older system that Don Morrison created with key levels of competencies. And you kind of said, and it was like at the C1 level, you should be observing side entry and recognizing stamping and penalizing this. And you had all these different competencies. And the way we kind of used to do performance reviewers is we would weight those competencies with different levels of the game and then add those up. And out of those scores, a 72 meant that you're at grade for C1, but your tackle was weighted at 5, but you only scored a 3 on it. But your scrum was weighted at 5, but it's only with 1 because it's not that important of a game. It was a good system in its time. And now that we've kind of moved away from that level of performance reviewing and that kind of level of math, it's kind of just going along with some of the competencies that are in advantage. And that basically we would kind of put, like a fitness standard on it, a goal standard on it, and just give you smaller things to work on. The executive committee would kind of go through and kind of evaluate all of our referees and put them where you think they are. And ideally, that your goal is to referee. If you're a new referee, you're refereeing level 8 games until we can kind of provide that you're reaching these competencies, and now you can focus on these level of competencies. And now we'll give you level 7. And it's just a more structured pathway to kind of move through the game. And you're like, why am I not a B panel yet? Or why am I not getting level 4 games? Well, we can kind of see that as like your management and your ball out of scrum percentage is not kind of where it needs to be. Let's work on some goals to kind of get that and go forward and move on. And it's just incremental steps of kind of moving up the ladder. And
I would suggest that this, rather than being looked at as like a threat towards where you think you are as a referee, and that this might be a step back or anything. I honestly think that this is an opportunity for all of us to say, all right, let's shake up a little bit of the unclarity that is there formerly, and whether it's perfectly aligned at where we want to be today or not when this first shakes out, that's almost less important as much as having more transparency on how to get to the next level. And I think that overwhelmingly as a peer and as a RDO and other positions, the feedback I get is it's not always clear on how to succeed to get to the next level. And I understand that. I empathize with that. I also know what that feels like. So to try to gain more clarity on, here's some specific things that you can do to get to that next step. Here's the things that we're looking at. Here's video examples of it. Here's videos of how you look doing it, right? It's much more simple for us as a referee individually and as a referee group to hopefully, get some concrete demonstrations of what we want to do to achieve the next level.
Thank you, Brian. So basically kind of the match levels for me is starting at 8. It would be men's collegiate division 2, women's collegiate division 2, and women's men's and women's U19. And that doesn't mean that, you know, a 4 can't referee at 8, but we're going to try and schedule 4s to referee 4 games and schedule 6s to referee 6 games. And I know that we don't maybe have those games right now. Some of those games are only NCS, some of those games are D1A. It is something that we would have to kind of figure out. But like ideally, like if there are no 4 games and you have a weekend off, maybe you can come coach and help a level 6 come up, right? And if there's no level 8 games, maybe the level 8 referees can come AR for the 4 games. However it works out. I have to see it kind of how the schedule works out and how many games we've got and how many referees. We could have 54 games a weekend and only 4 level 4 refs. And that would give us a point like, oh, geez, I need to get on the ball and get our 25 level 5s up to the next level and identify Randy, Mose, Chris, your guys are the next thing up. Let's get you going faster, right? And it's just a little bit more transparent. Level 7, as you can tell, then level 6, level 5. And then once we get up to like level 4, those are not really controllable by us. Those are more like NCS, kind of D1A stuff, USA Rugby, assigned World Rugby stuff. But it is just like a linear pathway.
As it stands right now, level 4, we maybe get 20% say as a local society of who we might want to see in those positions. And the other, 80% or so is all USA Rugby assigned, appointed.
Yeah, give me one second, Ed. And kind of with that too, as I did talk a couple of meetings ago about AR levels. I did a kind of a presentation of like, this is what a level 1 AR would look. That's another thing I want to kind of put with this as well, is AR levels. So like if you I would really love to be a major league AR or a national champion AR. What do I need to do? Well, right now we have you as a 4 and you're kind of running this kind of level. Let's put some things in place to kind of get you up that level. Okay.
The AR levels would match up with the.
No, they're kind of like, I have it, and again, I'll share this document with you. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then some of the stuff development, I foresee how you would be getting up to the next level is levels 7 and 8 would be like the coaching reports. And I know Stu did a great job with an automatic coaching report, but it's a general thing. It's like, we as coaches just kind of go and say, okay, well, Don did good at this, needs some work at that, did good here on some advantage stuff I liked, but that wasn't part of his thing because that's a B3 element. This would just kind of give you like, okay, Don is a level 8. He should be working on these 4 things. Is he achieving the bar at those 4 things? Yes, great. Let's look at him for level 7. Or no, let's give him some structure to get those 4 things done and just get a little bit better. And then, so once you get to level 6, then you start diving into getting into the local advantage. And you get maybe 20% of your games done in that way, but 80%. Level 5, you get more into advantage. And then obviously level 4, you get into the upper echelon of the different levels of advantage we have right now. Jim, just real quick, like level 4, this is kind of like what you would do, and I'll make this public. But I think, Ed, you had a question?
Right, more of this explanation of my background.
Sure.
Talk a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on up. Come on and stand right here.
I don't know how many of you know me. How many know me? I'm Ed Todd. For 10 years, I was the director of the referee department.
Hi, Ed.
I coached Mark. I coached Brian.
So they can
for 10 years, I was president of Northern California Referee Society. I've refereed since the early 70s. I have a lot of experience with the running of local referee societies, et cetera. And I've been an advocate of this kind of system now for 10 years. Because when at the local level and even at the higher levels, when it comes down to say, oh, we've got team A against team B, regardless whether it's Division II, whether it's women's, whether it's youth, ultimately the assigner, whether it is a committee or an individual, goes through the process as which referees on my list are capable of doing that game, which referees can handle the barbarians against whoever their big rival is now. So, and the old system of ABCD, which was invented by the RAF in the mid-50s, has always been confusing to allocators because, as Mark said, what's the difference between a B2 and a B3? I never knew. It's just all of a sudden you were one or the other. With a system like this, and actually there's going to be a meeting on Wednesday night at the USA level to go over this further. With a system like this, you can look at a referee doing a level 5 game and he's doing great. So you put him up and you test him on a level 4 game and he has issues. And it's easier to identify those issues. He was doing great at scrums at level 5, but level 4, amongst other things, scrums were a problem. Why? And you can go in from a coaching perspective and from a referee's perspective and zero in on this. Also, at all levels, but especially at the local level, it allows you to bring the stakeholders in. In other words, you'll have people who are involved with D2 men, and they know the derbies. They know the games that are going to be. Maybe you say a D2 is a level, I don't know what the D2 level is, 7. But this particular game may be a level 6. And you get feedback from the match organizers as to which games may be above their level, which games may be below the level. We already do this with the D1A. The D1A are not always the same level of games. And at the national level, the D1A will say, we want your national panel guys for these 20 games, but we want competent local guys for the rest. And so that gives the stakeholders some input. So I encourage you to take a look at this seriously, and I think that in the end, it will put better refs on the correct games. It will give referees a better opportunity to self-evaluate and figure out what it is they need to do to improve, and it'll make it, and they can focus on their development better. That's, I'm an advocate for this.
Pat and Jim and then Chris.
You're saying the USA Rugby is considered?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're considering of going forward with this as the national method.
I'm just trying to get it out there because I've wanted to get it out there.
Yeah, and I think it's good to get it out there because too often we up on Mount Olympus make these decisions without getting, the full idea of what the impact is at the local level.
I have a comment, Mark.
Give me 1 second, Brian.
Yeah, no worries.
Go Jim and Chris, then you. But real quick, like I said, I don't know when it's going to come down from USA Rugby, but I would like to be the test model for it and get it going, right? Jim, you had a question?
A couple things. One, what I was going to ask is USA going to do this, and you said yes, you think they will. Presume if they tweak it, we would tweak it next stage.
Yeah.
And do we know of anybody else in the U.S. at other levels, Northern Cal?
No, not to
Anybody
my
else
knowledge.
is doing this, or you don't know?
Not to my knowledge. No one else is doing this. I think they're just waiting for it to be told to by USA. I don't.
Now, if I was running the show, I would be happy to have pilot programs first. But I'm not in charge. So
Brian, you had a comment?
I was going to run.
Yeah, generally, and speaking to both Jim and Ed's point, and exactly what you said, Mark, I think when I look at our society, I think we've already adopted a role of innovators, and I don't think we're afraid to take chances. And I think this is one of those things where it's not even that grossly big of a chance given the confusion and the cloudiness of our current grading system. I think this chance is pretty safe, quite frankly, but also that, we are not afraid to blaze the trail and be that pilot program for USA Rugby and give feedback. I think that's a place where we'd actually excel in.
John Kenny?
Do other international societies do?
Yeah, I think the world does.
We're
Yep. Well, RFU does, New Zealand does, South Africa does. South Africa has panels though, right? Well, Kurt,
There's many different versions.
Yes, it is.
okay. Art, and then Jim, and then Mike.
I think this would help out a lot with recruitment, well, for new refs, because I have no idea what the level system is right now or how it works. This is really clear on, as a beginning ref, these are your core competencies that you need to get done. This is your path forward. This is what you need to do.
Okay, Jim.
I move that we vote on it.
Okay, Mike.
Do you have any idea about the distribution of the society amongst the levels there?
Not a clue.
I'm somewhat concerned that certainly the ones with 4, we won't have that many. 5, 6, 7, and 8 will kind of squash into multiple of our games, squashed into the bottom 4 level. And have you given any thought to maybe expanding the bottom numbers a bit?
Well, I don't want to get to like to something where it's going to be like 13 levels.
I think that's way too many. I don't know what the right answer is. But I'm saying the majority of us are going to be squashed into 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Well, honestly, Chris, 1 second. All of us are going to be squashed at 5, 6, 7, 8 because those 5, 6, 7, 8s are locally appointed.
Yeah,
so number one, so that's kind of like our role as an LRO, and it's up to USA Rugby and WPL and PRP and ARP and MLR referee managers to assign the 2s and 3s and 1s out of that. So I think that that 95% of us are going to be living 5 through 8.
So if we give the thought to say putting 2 more levels in 9 and 10, that gives you a nice round number of scale, and then you could split it up in the bottom to give people the incentive to move up.
I think how it works out with the competencies, that if we do add 2 more numbers, then really it's a very focused number of competencies that a level 10 would referee, and it's not kind of really encompassing a lot of the game. So basically like a level 8 right now is just kind of basically your competencies and your goals is, are you making this game look like rugby? Like is the scrum set up? Is the line out set up? Is there space? Does it look like rugby? And is it safe? And then, so if we take that down to 10, I think basically, are you putting the whistle in the right way in your mouth is kind of where we go with that. So I think that we're kind of moving forward, and those newer referees that are jumping into level 8. And again, I think with our pathway is we're not just, congratulations, Angela, you passed your level 1. You're refereeing over here on field 2. Go for it. We are slowly transitioning those guys to kind of get more game experience by being tech zones, by being ARs, and then taking the whistle as they see fit. So then we can give the level 8s a little bit more of a meatier process as far as coaching and feedback. Sorry, Jim, I had a couple over here. Chris?
Well, just clarify, is it correct to say that this coincides with the way you're coaching?
That is ideally how I would like to set this up. It's kind of how I kind of worked with it with Stu a little bit, but I would like, and I'm not technologically savvy, and it's a conversation I'd like to have with someone who is technologically savvy, is to be able to create this for me. My goal is Art logs in, he's a level 8 referee, he goes and puts his information in, he gets an 8, it'll pop up goals for him to work on. Like, these are your competencies, you create goals, you submit that to me, to your coach on Thursday or whatever. I look at it, review it, can print it out, go write things on. I can go back and type up, and then Art will have that back. And like, these are, congratulations, Art. You gave me the competencies of what you're working on. You gave me the actions of the attainable, the relative, the SMART goals you're working on. I can see by your game that you did this 5 times or whatever. I feel that you nailed it. Now I see that you didn't work on set pieces. Let's get you part of that. right? And then after a season of that, we can kind of go back and look at Art's thing. Is he ready to go up because he's nailed all 5 of his competencies? Is he ready to take on level 7? Should we give him that opportunity?
So, it's fair to say that I think that's fantastic. I think I'd like to advocate for the student for the office for the reasons you just mentioned. I think it offers clarity over objective, the subjective kind of coaching report. It gives the coaches more precise things on which to coach us on. It helps those coaches spend a lot of time preparing all that work that they do afterwards. So,
yeah,
I think the number is arbitrary and it can be evolutionary. I think jumping up might be spectacular.
Okay, Randy, did you have a question? Does anyone have any more comments or questions? Jim?
You said that de facto, we would be referring and awarding at 8-5. We know who USA would be awarding 4-1.
So number 1 would be the MLR referee manager and probably the World Rugby referee manager, or the committee of MLR. So there's a selection committee for MLR. So they would be doing that. For number 2, it looks like it's PRP and ARP. They are referee managers for that. That would probably be making the selections. Last year, Scott Green was the ARP referee manager. And I imagine that they're going to work with the selection committee from the RNL to kind of pick those refs.
No, that's not what I was asking. What I think you just said is they're the people who would choose the refs.
Yes.
I'm asking who assigns a ref grade of level 3 or level 2?
Well, it would be probably at a local level, it'd be the RDO. And at the national panel level, it would be the selection committee of the RNL.
It's each league selection mechanism that if they bring you in that league, you automatically have that level. So it's not a evaluation to go through. It's if you get brought in to do MLR games, you'll be at the level that you got brought in to do your panel or
2.
So really say when you get selected for those levels by proving yourself you get yeah. Yeah.
You can.
I think the thing to keep in mind is it's not drastic. There's no different with level 8 to 4 as C 4 to 1, right? There's no different in calling it a thing. I think that's the structure with this.
Yeah. Remember a conversation I had with Bill Cassidy when he got promoted to C2. I'm like, congratulations, Bill. You made a C2. How did you do it? I have no idea. And that's what I want to eliminate. And for people that are like stuck at C1 or C2 and like, why am I not getting C1 games or opportunities? I would like to be able to like, well, Jim Russell, I think your Ruck and Mall is something, an area of opportunity based on your last reports. We are really struggling. You're really struggling with Ruck and Mall. Or your fitness is, you can't get past this on the Bronco. Or your X, this is why, you know, instead of like, of that kind of thing. Pat. Okay, so we've had a motion to vote on it, and Pat has seconded it. So do we want to do a hand, or do we want to do?
Because there's a lot of discussion on this. So why don't we do a
voting for
We are voting to implement this January 1st.
Whether to adopt this, simple yes or no. Please don't put a Y or an N. Don't make us try to understand what you meant. Just write yes. You want yellow paper? On the yellow paper, because some people already marked on the blue. Fold them in half, if you don't mind. I don't want to know.
For those that are online, do you want to put that on chat? Can you put that on chat? Or you could say your vote, I guess. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can put that on chat.
Okay. I don't see the chat anywhere.
Thanks, guys. Hey, Doug, you want to come up? Yeah, we do the officer votes. Okay.
If those on chat want to chat to everyone,
You can chat it to everyone so it's transparent. I don't see them coming in though.
I can read it. Should anybody else be better?
Marino's online. I got his vote.
Yeah, but Brian, you can read them?
Yeah, so far I only see myself.
Okay. Well, other people have proxies and Wyoming, the Wyoming guy.
YO Charlie.
YO Charlie is Steve's got a proxy in, Steven's got a proxy in, BK's got a proxy in, you are voting, and then Wyoming Charlie. I don't know if you're there or not, but if you could chat your vote and Brian can see it, he could tell me that. I'll give you about a minute to take care of that.
Okay. I have votes from myself, Brian Kelly, YO Charlie, and Steve Marino.
Okay, and what are those?
Yes, across the board.
Okay, so 4 more yes votes.
Steve, yes. Charlie.
Well, so take
We've got it.
If they
Yeah, that's fine.
proxy, I've got their vote.
It's fine. Just YO Charlie is the only one, and Brian Zapp.
No, I got one.
Okay, well then, so just YO Charlie.
Okay, so we got all those. He's counting up. All right, we have quick election on the officers. We have one candidate for president, Brian Zapp. He's going unopposed. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed. Congratulations, Brian. Wait, what's that? One more favor? All right, so we have one nomination for Director of Operations. It's Dan Hatrett, commonly referred to as Gilligan. Again, he's unopposed. All those in favor of Gilligan or Dan Hatrett, Director of Operations? Opposed? All right, there we go. We got one. Yeah. Okay, third one is the Recruitment and Retention Officer. Steve Gore has been nominated. No one else has been nominated, so he's unopposed. All those in favor of Steve Gore, raise your hand. Opposed?
Well,
You were the only unanimous one, Steve. We had one rebel in the back voting no on the first two. So anyway, so congratulations to Brian, Steve, and Dan.
Brian, how do you want to do these?
I would like to announce those right now.
Okay.
So congratulations to Mark Nelson for Referee Development Officer. You're doing a terrific job, Mark, and we appreciate your structure and dedication. So cheers, Mark.
Thank you. There is one more committee I forgot to put on here. There's an investment committee that's selected by the executive committee. So I've got to put that on there. But
so Vice Chair, actually this year we're doing things a little differently. Thank you to Mark Huff for being reappointed to that position. And as co-Vice Chair, also thank you to Robertson. You're joining in that position as well. I mentioned earlier about the consistency, and given that we've had so much turnover this last year, it's really in our best interest to have more consistency at the leadership position. So Doug will be taking time to learn the ins and outs of Mark's role, Dan Hattrop's role, Mark Huff's role, and Steve's role, so that if we're in the event of people being busy, getting caught up in life, we're not lacking as a referee society. So thank you to Huff and Doug. Appreciate you guys.
We haven't had anyone as a tournament or exchange officer in a while. If you did kind of want to do that, I think our last person was John Kenny. John, you want to talk to that about anything? Like what'd you find? What was the challenges? What were the opportunities? What was your experience with it?
It was obviously the challenges are kind of breaking out. I can figure out.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that you there was evidence a bit more challenge there, obviously, sorted out.
Okay. if you do kind of thinking about that, I'm sure John Kenny's available. Myself, Brian Zapp, we can talk about that and maybe expand upon that. It was like a new role. It kind of took off, didn't falter a little bit, but I think we'd like to move forward and kind of get that sorted out. I know we're running a little late and people are getting a little weary, but let's get to the really kind of fun stuff. So we kind of came up with some things, and again, like this is
Can we
show.
announce the results before we go?
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry.
There's two more things left. So
Sorry.
Right, so the results from the moving from grade to level past 38.
Okay.
So, and Joe, you want this more paper? So here you go, buddy. I'll even donate the flips for you. You're gonna need that next. All right, give me the pins back, guys, because we'll need those next week too.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Brian kind of came up with some options real quick, and we'll just kind of talk about this a little bit. And then we're done. So we could all kind of go to a Top Golf thing, which is kind of like playing darts with golf balls. It's a little pricey. I think it's about $42 a person. The curling we did a couple years ago was great fun. We had a lot of fun that did it, and we worked some muscles that we've never used before, for sure. But we tried to do that last year, and it's pretty booked up, and it's pretty pricey. So that would probably have to be like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday if we did do that, which isn't great for numbers. The Warrior Challenge is like a team building thing. Escape Denver is fun too. I think we're gonna put Jim in a room where he has to knock himself out to get out of it and just watch him and kind of watch Gerbil in the maze. Or we could go to Brian Zapp's office and kind of like have it catered and bring in a couple things of kombucha tea or beer if you like, and kind of have like a cornhole or bocce ball tournament or whatever. And that's relatively low cost. So has anyone done any of these things or anything? Has anyone ever done an escape room? I think that'd be really fun in team building or a Warrior. It's fun but stressful.
No way.
Too many alphas in the room for escape. Okay. Is anyone okay? So we're done. We're done with the escape room.
Also drank kombucha and done cornhole. I don't know.
We can have Festivus where we can have feats of strength.
The airing of grievances.
Sorry, we'll say that again, Brian?
Festivus, the airing of grievances.
A lot of problem with you people. Top Golf.
I will say the Warrior Challenger
Chris and then Kurt. Kurt? Axe throwing at each other.
Not next week, but next week we'll do. So you go to target. It's relatively expensive.
Actually, I just did that, and it was a blast. It was fun.
Okay.
What's that?
You drink beer and throw axes?
Yeah.
Okay, so does anyone have, so we have 3 votes for axe throwing. Any votes for any of the other stuff? Cornhole? Top Golf? Brian's place is in Longmont. Top Golf?
There's 2 axe throwing places. One is downtown and one is just north of town.
Top Golf is in Inglewood, Centennial? Centennial? All right. So all in favor, Doug took a quick count. Axe throwing. All right, it's axe throwing. All right, we will sort that out and we will get that sometime in January.
It is a lot of fun.
It will not be the second weekend in January because that's the NDS, and I think we should all try and attend to that. But we will put it out in January. Okay, real quick, I can see the light of the tunnel, and it's not a train. So we have some recognition of awards. we'd like to give out. Of course, none of the people are here, but the road warrior, the guy who put in the most miles this year, is Brian Kelly. Congratulations, Brian Kelly. When you do show up, we have a nice little medallion for you, right?
How many games?
I don't know, 62.
It was my mileage.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. So this kind of award is a guy who kind of gives back and gives a lot back to rugby, and just tireless efforts, and just always thinking about ways of creating back rugby. He went down to Colombia to kind of extend Rocky Mountain referees down there and maybe bring some back and just spread Girl World. So the values of rugby this year goes to Stephen Gore. Congratulations. Even when you get back from Panama, you can wear this lovely medallion. We'll take your passport from it. And then we kind of came up with a new award this year, and it's just someone who kind of stepped up and volunteered for things and went above and beyond, and that will go to Zenobia Fry, who's just kind of, I'll host this, I'll make the barbecue for that, I'll show up and lay out for this, I'll help out with radios, whatever you want. So Zenobia, if you're out there, come get your medal at the, well, there you go. She's with Steve Gore in Belize. Yeah. We did Don Dowling's reward for Referee of the Year from Rugby, Colorado. And let's go through congratulations to these following referees that have made it. Since we are January 1st, we are going to the new thing. The executive committee decided let's give out promotions and get them all out of the way. So Sean, Bob, Art, Dale, Don, Zenobia, Pete, Catherine, Chris, Scott, Craig, Larissa, and Melanie. Congratulations. By the power best of me, you are a C3 referee.
What's that equate to with the grade level?
8.
Right there.
From C3 to C2. Pat Aberthley, Moi, and Mose Timoteo. Congratulations. From C2 to C1. Old Randy Lewis. Congratulations. All right, let's adjourn and celebrate. Thanks for coming. Oh, wait a minute. C3 to B, C1 to B3. I forgot about this one.
All right.
Congratulations, guys. Now let's adjourn and celebrate. Then you start back at level 8. You're back to 8. Guys, I will be buying a couple rounds of drinks and appetizers at the Bull and Bush. So if you're welcome to come. Well, if you can help me break down everything, we can all leave it immediately. Thank you for attending online. I'll publish this and put it out there.
Thanks, guys.